and we're really pleased that she's here tonight. Kimberly K. Rea.
Hello, everyone. How was dinner? Okay, good. Let's give a shout out to dinner. So you did such a great job of introducing me, and now everyone knows my age with that 20 years experience thing, right? So I got lost this evening, and getting lost this evening was the best thing that happened because I got to go all the way down Army Trail Road. All the way down and look at the high school and think, oh my gosh, look at the junior high, look at the missing businesses, look at the new businesses. And it was humbling. So I'm proud to be here this evening, and I want to congratulate you because I never was at this event. I never was honored in this respect. So a round of applause for you. So here's my story, and as I wrote it last night, I realized it wasn't an easy journey, and it still isn't. I'm crazy, and I have proof at 5 years old. I went to Oak School, if we remember where Oak School was, in Addison. And my very first day of kindergarten, I came home crying. And my mother said, "What now with this child?" And I said, I'm 7 Kims in my class. And she said, "And what am I supposed to do about that?" 7 Kims. I was just like everyone else. And I talked too much. Instantly, the teacher found out that I talked too much and put me right in the corner for my very first day of kindergarten, and I was upset that I was one of 7 Kims. So I grabbed my crayons and I grabbed my paper and I wrote my new name, and I spelled it K-Y-M-B-E-R-L-E-E, and it never went back. By 3rd grade, I was legally Kimberly with a Y, not an I. And my mother said that was the beginning of how I knew you were going to be trouble in this world. So that's how it all started with branding. My Addison Trail experience is this. During kindergarten through 6th grade, I was bullied horribly. I thought I was an awful child, I thought I was ugly, and the school bus would taunt me all the way home until my last day of 6th grade, when I stood up and I told this young girl that I would be something someday. And I got off the bus, and I think I changed my life. I began Indian Trail. I was a gymnast. I was a cheerleader, which my parents weren't very happy about at the time. I then went to Addison Trail, where I was also on cheerleading. I became captain of cheerleading. I enjoyed my time at Addison Trail. And my senior year, my parents divorced. It was a very rough time for me. So I quit cheerleading. I said, I'm done. Captain of the cheerleading team. I quit. And I left cheerleading, and I was very sad. I started to gain weight and was unhappy. And I had to decide about college. I want to go to college. My parents, we don't have money for you. You can't go to college. Your brother and sister didn't go to college. You're not going to go to college. And I said, I changed my name when I'm 5. I'm going to college, and I'll figure a way. And so I started to work out, and exercising really became a very important part of my life. And you probably don't remember it, but there was a place in Wooddale called Female Fitness. They changed my life for fitness. I lost weight. My senior year of cheerleading, I was asked to be on NCA, which is National Cheerleading Association. I then went and taught cheerleading camps to high schools and colleges for 2 years. I then made the Chicago Bulls during all of the championship years because fitness became a passion of mine. I made my way through Triton for 2 years on my own dollar, working full time. And I wanted to be a teacher. I wanted to be a teacher really bad. So I went to Northeastern after I finished Triton, and I had a moment. I had a really serious moment as I was finishing my master's degree at Northeastern. I got pregnant my last semester, and I had to go tell my mom, who was a very proud, wonderful, very funny woman. I went to tell her, and she said, I have 2 months to live. She had lung cancer. So what do I have to do? I have to finish school. I had to get married, and I had to have a baby. And my mother, on Mother's Day of 1996, passes away when I'm pregnant. Finish school. I have Jalen, who is my pride and joy. I now have my degree. I get my very first job, which is in advertising for a local company. I worked there about a week. My child was in daycare. I came home and I told my lovely ex-husband at the time, I quit. I'm staying home with this kid. And he said, and what are you gonna do? And I'll remind you, I changed my name when I was 5. I said, I'm gonna start a company. And he said, how are you gonna do that? And I said, I'll figure it out. So my high school career, my ups, my downs, my quitting cheerleading, my parents getting divorced, the struggles that I had really ended up pushing me harder and to move forward. I started Big Shot Marketing. I was a girl. I needed a tough name. I thought Big Shot was cool. My guy has a mustache, and the mustache has stayed with me for 15 years. Big Shot Marketing is a 15-year-old company, and it's built around something my mother said before she passed away. I played school in the basement for a very long time. She said, Kim, I know you want to be a teacher, but at Addison Trail, do you remember how all the cheerleaders would pay you to do the locker posters for all the sports? I did them all. I did all the locker posters because I was good with glitter and markers. She said, you have a talent. She said, you know how you guys won state for cheerleading the year you were there? Who made up the cheers? I said, I did. She goes, you're good with jingles. I think you should stick with advertising. So I finished my degree with a master's in marketing with an emphasis on branding, all because maybe Addison Trail had an impact on me. Maybe locker posters were my future and I didn't know. Maybe cheers were gonna become really handy when it comes to marketing and jingles and taglines. So I say to you, whatever you're trying to accomplish, wherever you end up in this world, go for it. Go for your goals. Work hard, try different things, and you'll be successful. Love what you do. I believe this. Love what you do and the money will follow. I'm here to say I love it. I love it so much, and I'm so crazy that last July I was having dinner a stone's throw from my marketing firm. And I found out 2 doors down, it was open for rent. And again, you know where my mom's at. And I said, really? Now you want me to open this? And I said, well, how much is the rent? And gosh, I wonder if I could do this. And I said, you know what? I changed my name when I'm 5 years old. I'm gonna open up a dance and fitness studio. And guess what? If I fail, it's not because I'm a bad instructor or a dance leader. It's because I'm a bad marketer, right? So we opened August 1st. I named the dance studio in a matter of 2 days. I named it Fly Girl Dance and Fitness. And if anybody remembers back when the Bulls were popular, there was a show called In Living Color. Do you remember the dancers? They were the Fly Girls. Jennifer Lopez got her start, and I said, wouldn't that be a great name for a dance and fitness studio? Something I loved, something I was passionate about when I was young. We opened up August 1st. Today, 10 months later, we have 600 members. And we did it using social media marketing, using the advertising that I had, using the locker poster mentality, using the I can change my name at 5 mentality. Am I a huge success today? Not yet. Am I working hard? Every single day. But I love what I do and I'm passionate. I wish you the best of luck. Thank you so very much for having me this evening.
Kimberly, please come back up. Sorry. What a great story, wasn't it? Oh, you don't want to dance with me, I'll tell you. That'd be a disaster. We have a certificate that we'd like to present to you for being here tonight. The Addison Chamber of Commerce and Industry, a partnership of industry and commerce providing service to the Addison community, presents this certificate to Kimberly K. Rea in appreciation for being our keynote speaker tonight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
This is a part that I also look forward to every year. We asked Addison Trail High School to designate one student from among the brilliant students that we have in this group tonight. Probably not an easy task, but we asked them to pick one to kind of represent the whole group and share some remarks with us. So at this time, I'd like to call Maggie Simbula to come up and do exactly that. Maggie?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Maggie Simbola, and I would like to thank Mr. Redding and Mr. Sabolka for this wonderful opportunity to be speaking here tonight. To all my fellow classmates, we have come so far since embarking on this journey our freshman year. I hope these past 4 years have been filled with many great memories, ample opportunities to grow, and lifelong friends to have shared it all with. I'd like to wish you all the best of luck and happiness in the future. In the words of Walt Disney, you can design and create and build the most wonderful place in the world, but it takes people to make the dream a reality. When we achieve, we usually do so because others have been there as a stronghold of support. Throughout our 4 years of high school, our teachers have given up their valuable time to make sure we understood concepts. They revised and edited our papers, wrote letters of recommendation, and were always there for us whenever we needed help. To all our teachers, thank you. You have truly made a difference and helped us flourish into the people we are today. In addition, I would also like to recognize the contribution our parents have made in helping us get to this point. Through their unwavering commitment and compassion, they have raised children with strong dedication to their futures. We are here tonight because of their support, encouragement, and motivation. In recognition of everyone who has helped guide us to where we are today, let's give a round of applause to all the teachers, parents, and guardians here with us this evening. There are no shortcuts to any place worth going, and you have made a huge difference. Finally, as Walt Disney noted, all our dreams can come true if we have the courage to pursue them. Thank you so much, and congrats to the class of 2015.
At this time, I would like to ask District 88 Superintendent Dr. Scott Helton and the principal of Addison Trail High School, Adam Sabolka, to please join me up here. It's okay to applaud them. We have some certificates to award to our guests tonight.
Thank you. Before we get to the awards, I want to thank the Chamber of Commerce for their continued support of Addison Trail High School and our students. I want to thank the mayor for his kind words. Kimberly, thank you for your great inspirational comments. Maggie, great job. And you know, Addison Trail is a fantastic place with fantastic students, and I hope at the table today you got a chance to see the great work that our students do. I mean, we have students this year, those acceptance letters and those decisions are being made to future colleges. We have students this year going off to places like Stanford, University of Wisconsin, University of Chicago, University of Illinois, you name it. The Blazers will be across the nation. And we are very proud of the accomplishments of our students. This senior class is going to follow in the line of so many classes before them, with last year being the second consecutive year. We had over 90% of our students accepted to a 2 or 4 year college and university. And so I know this is a message that the students and the parents in this room hear from me quite often, but to the community and chamber members that are here today, it's something you should be proud of, because the success of our students doesn't come just from those in the building with our teachers, our staff members, our students and our families, but it comes with the full support of the community. And so we do thank you for all your support. And I would be remiss if I didn't mention, because the students expect this from me now, that that all the community and chamber members know that Addison Trail is in the top 6% of the schools in the nation, as per the Newsweek magazine and the Washington Post. So with that said, without further ado, let's get to our certificates, and thank you to all the chamber members again for sponsoring our students this evening. So first up, we have Alejandro Avalos, sponsored by MB Financial Bank, sponsor Angelina Nunez. Next, we have also sponsored by MB Financial Bank, Adolfo Baca, sponsor Jose Contreras. Next, we have Stephanie Diaz, sponsored by Oxford Bank and Trust, sponsor Nancy Howe. Next, we have Julia Dezibis, who unfortunately was unable to make it this evening, but in her place, we have Sylvia Lane, representing, the Village of Addison. Thank you, Sylvia, for sponsoring. Next, we have Nicole Federighi, sponsored by the A.J. LaRocca Foundation. Sponsor, John LaRocca. Viola Jansi, sponsored by Adventist Glen Oaks. Sponsor, Joe Leone. Unfortunately, Viola was unable to make it this evening. Thank you, Joe, for your continued sponsorship and support. Next, we have Albab Khan, sponsored by the Salvation Army. Sponsor, Sue Linden. Sponsored by DuPage High School District 88 and myself, Megan Lavaniak. Next, we have Jeff McGinnity, sponsored by the Addison Fire Protection District. Sponsor, Don Markowski. Our next student is Gabriella Maroney, sponsored by the Village of Addison, and sponsor, Mayor Veenstra. Next, we have Dakota Noel, sponsored by SWD, sponsor, Linda Larson. Our next student is Saul Rivera, sponsored by Addison Fire Protection District. Sponsor, Mike Super. Our next sponsor is the College of DuPage, sponsoring student Emma Schmidt. Sponsor, Diane McHugh. Next, we have Michael Silzen, again sponsored by SWD. Sponsor, John Larson. Next, we have Maggie Simbula, sponsored by DuPage High School District 88. Sponsor, Dr. Scott Helton. And last, but certainly not least, we have student Hannah Urich, sponsored by Oxford Bank and Trust. Sponsor, Robert Anderson. Again, that's it for our students who are being recognized this evening. We have one certificate left, and that is for Jackson Eustace, and we will be presenting him with this at this time with the sponsorship of the Addison Chamber of Commerce. So thank you again for that, and we'll make sure that he gets it. And in closing here, again, I want to thank all the sponsors for taking the time to recognize these students. These are some of the finest students in Addison Trail, and I hope that you had the opportunity to meet them and realize that they are going to be going on to do some great things in the future and make Addison, the Village of Addison and Addison Trail proud. So again, thank you for your support, and we look forward to that continued support as we move forward. So thank you.
Thank you, gentlemen, very much, and congratulations again to all the bright young people who have been recognized here tonight. What we're going to do right now is award the annual scholarship that is furnished by the Addison Chamber of Commerce and Industry. It's one of the most, as I said earlier, difficult tasks that we have, but it's also one of the most enjoyable ones every year as our board members undertake the process to do this as fairly as we possibly can. There's so many outstanding students who applied for the scholarship. You look at the blind applications that we have, and wow, you can make a case for every one of them. They're extraordinary young people who have had extraordinary parents and are on the cusp of doing even more extraordinary things in the future. Let me briefly explain what the process is. We receive applications in our chamber office. All names and references are removed from the application copies provided to our selection committee for review and scoring. So each is assigned only a corresponding number. That's what I meant when I said that we're blindly looking at all of the applicants. So the committee does not know the name on those applications. The committee members review and rate the applications based on academics, on community service, on school activities, and in the case of financial need, information from the FAFSA that the students may have filled out. The committee returns the applications and their rating sheet to the office where we compile all of the points together, and it's from that that we're able to compile the student that had the highest score of those that were involved in the selection committee. The highest combined score ends up with the scholarship. So at this time, right now, I'd like to call the person who is going to be receiving the Addison Chamber Scholarship for this year. The certificate that I'm going to present says that it's on behalf of our member organizations. We're giving a $1,000 scholarship to Dakota Noel. I had the opportunity, as we all did at this table here, to visit with Dakota a little bit during dinner, and you're heading to the University of Minnesota.
Yes.
And tell me again what you're going to be studying. It's two really divergent things, which is pretty cool.
Astrophysics, quantum physics, and scenic design.
I love the scenic design with that. That's wonderful. Best of luck to you, and best of luck to everybody who is moving on to their exciting time in college. What we want to do next is we have another couple of scholarships to award. I'd like to ask Dee LaRocca, John LaRocca, and Mary LaRocca to the podium, please.
I'll just take 1 minute to explain. The A.J. LaRocca Memorial Foundation was created in memory of the LaRocca family, dearest husband and father. He was very active in the community, as so many of you do know, and among his greater passions, after love and family and religion, were to mentor young people and adult people as they pursue their different trades and vocations. After his passing, John and Mary and myself sat down, and we wanted to do something to keep his memory alive. So we formed the foundation, and each year now we do give out a scholarship to a student that we're able to select. One who is pursuing a career in firefighting, and someone else who is pursuing a career in wastewater treatment or environmental services. Those were both of Tony's major workstations in his life. So, John, do you want to say a few words?
A few words. See, I can make people laugh too. No, Tony was my mentor. He was in the environmental field the first 35 plus years of his life. And the last 25 plus years, he was fire. And he attacked both of those fields with passion. He believed in what he was doing. He believed in the people that he was working with and the people that worked under him. That was very important, and it was very evident that the village of Addison excelled because of the way my father taught. But we're extremely happy to offer these scholarships to young individuals, or in the wastewater field, it could be older. But usually with that case, it's somebody who's pursuing a second career. It usually doesn't happen in fire, I don't think. Anyway, Mary, thank you.
I've had the pleasure and honor since my father's passing on several occasions to have conversations with people who worked with him, for him, might have been mentored by him during his years of working in the wastewater field and the fire service and many other areas as well. And I always hear the most wonderful anecdotal stories about how Tony influenced them with humor, and most of all with his example of integrity, hard work, and really, truly loving what you do. And it just gives us the greatest joy to see his wholehearted dedication to what he believed in and what he did and worked so hard to accomplish continue through the young people that are receiving these scholarships. So thank you all so much for allowing us to be part of this. It's a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Okay, we actually have 2 scholarships to present tonight. First, I'd like to call up to the podium Jeremy Miller. Jeremy? Jeremy is pursuing a career in the fire service industry. He has been one of our explorers for how long now? About 3 years, and he comes with great accolades of what a great job he does, his interest, his dedication, and the LaRocca Foundation feels that it's only appropriate, Jeremy, that we present you with a $1,500 scholarship. Okay, our second presentation tonight is to one of the students who submitted a scholarship application through the Chamber of Commerce. After the selection was already computed, so I was not interfering with the count, I reviewed some of the applications, and I did find that there was one student who did have an interest in pursuing an environmental form of service to the community. He's seeking an engineering degree, but has a great interest in preserving the world, and definitely he did mention wanting to keep our air and water and world fresh and clear. So I would like at this point to call Saul Rivera. Saul, on behalf of the A.J. LaRocca Memorial Foundation, I'm pleased to present you with a $1,000 scholarship. That's it. Bob, it's all yours. Thank you.
Thank you very much. There's one unannounced last thing. Nancy, you come up here for a second. Thank you all for being here. Again, a round of applause for the brilliant young folks that we're recognizing tonight. Best of luck to all of you. I know you're all going to go far. We wanted to do at Oxford Bank something really small to give out as just kind of a, hey, it was nice to spend part of an evening with you. For people that are my age, do you know what this is? Back scratcher. Joe, I think there's a second use. We happen to have some extra selfie sticks, so on your way out, students, enjoy your selfie stick. I don't think you're allowed to take them to concerts anywhere, but other than that, hopefully you'll get some use out of them. Thank you very much.
Major General James Mokayama Jr. was born here in Chicago in 1944. In 1989, he became the first Asian American in the history of the United States to command an Army division. He retired from the Army in May of 1995 after 30 years of active and reserve service, including 2 combat tours. Since his retirement, he has volunteered and participated in numerous organizations, both governmental and charitable, benefiting our military veterans and the community. In January of 2013, General Mukoyama answered a calling to devote his life to the Ministry of Military Outreach USA, a faith-based, not-for-profit organization dedicated to serving our military and their families. In May, the governor of Illinois issued a proclamation honoring General Mukoyama as the State of Illinois Veteran of the Month for his commitment and contributions to veterans and their families. He currently lives in Glenview with his wife of 43 years, and they attend Willow Creek Community Church, where he has founded and leads a military ministry. It's my pleasure to introduce to you General Mukoyama. Thank you, brother.
Well, somehow I had my speech there and I thought it was gone. Maybe after you hear me, you probably said, well, maybe it should have been. I'm just so privileged to be here. I actually feel part of this, like I'm part of this community. I'm a member of the Bloomingdale Post 7539 VFW. Last night, I was at the Bloomingdale Fire Department with our post packing boxes that we're sending overseas to troops. So went home last night, got up this morning, drove here, and I've been here before. Every day is a great day. I have my faith, my family. We live in the finest country in the world. People who know me are aware that this is my standard mantra, and it comes from my experience as an infantry soldier in combat. There were times that I did not know if I would be alive the next moment, much less see the next sunrise. When you are in your early 20s and in that situation, what is important in life becomes very focused to you, and that is faith, family, and living in the United States. In Glendale Heights, which I understand has been a long-standing tradition in this community for many years. Today I will discuss the needs and issues of our military community. The military community is defined as our active military, National Guard, reserves, veterans of all eras, and their family members. And our organization, Military Outreach USA, stresses the family equally as they too are serving and sacrificing. I will highlight a condition that is a major factor in the alarmingly high rate of suicide among our military veterans and the role that our communities can play in addressing these needs. Now, however, before I do that, I need to emphasize that the vast majority of veterans returning to our communities are normal, well-adjusted individuals. Unfortunately, the media is portraying veterans in an unfavorable light, similar to what was done to my generation, the Vietnam veterans. We were portrayed as wackos and druggies by the media and movie industry. If you look at the actual record of the Vietnam veterans, the overwhelming majority came back and assimilated into all areas of our society, becoming blue-collar and white-collar workers in our factories, businesses, and government as doctors, clergy, business leaders, educators, and artists. Unfortunately, today, the press is constantly highlighting the mental problem of veterans. For example, when a crime is reported that involves a veteran, You will often hear a reference of the veteran having post-traumatic stress disorder without an official verification of that diagnosis. Today's veterans from Iraq and Afghanistan are educated, hardworking, drug-free individuals who are outstanding potential employees for any organization. And I would encourage any employers here or leaders to remember that. Having said that, please respond to the following questions by raising your hand. In connection with our military, how many of you heard and understand the term post-traumatic stress or PTSD? Okay, I see a lot of hands. How many of you have heard the term traumatic brain injury or TBI? Okay, almost an equal number. These two conditions have been called the so-called signature injuries of the current wars in Iraq and Afghanistan. TBI, in fact, was the cover story of a recent issue of National Geographic magazine. As a matter of fact, neither are new injuries to war, to our military. They have just been given modern terms, and TBI has become more highlighted in the recent war on terrorism due to the proliferation of roadside improvised explosive devices, or IEDs. In Vietnam, we called them booby traps. I have another question. In connection with our military, how many of you have heard and understand the term moral injury? Okay, I saw like 3 hands go up. Don't be worried about that. That is not unusual. I'm not surprised at the difference because it has not been emphasized in the press or our military. Military Outreach USA and I personally have been on a mission for over 1.5 years to change that situation. Moral injury is a condition that has been officially recognized by the Department of Veterans Affairs since 2009, and yet there has not been a lot of buzz about it until fairly recently, especially in the academic research area. The concept is so intuitive that you will get it within 30 seconds. From the time you are born until you are 18 years old, you develop a personal moral code, a sense of right or wrong. This could come from your family, your religion, your community, your friends, whatever the source, you develop a personal moral code. Then you join the military, and you learn a warrior code that is superimposed on your personal moral code, and in fact transforms it somewhat. Then you might participate in activities that violate your personal moral code, such as killing. You don't have to be the trigger puller. You don't have to be the one who commits the activity. You can simply be a part of a unit that goes through an area and you follow on and you see that innocent civilians have been killed, or you handle body parts. At that time, you sustain a moral injury. It's one of these so-called invisible wounds of war. It's not a physical wound that you can actually see. But military operations are constantly moving. You're going from point A to point B to point C. You don't have time to stop and reflect on this stuff. So you suppress that moral injury, and it becomes unresolved guilt and shame. And I would say that, I would point out that moral injury is not limited to our military, but also affects our first responders, our police, our firefighters, and our emergency medical technicians. So you then return to the States and you leave the military, or you are in the National Guard or Reserves and you come back to Bloomingdale or Roselle or Medina and to a civilian community that does not understand the military culture or what you have been through, unlike previous generations in our nation. When I came back from Vietnam, virtually everyone had a connection to the military. A father, grandfather, uncle, cousin, somebody who had served in Korea or World War II. Today, fewer than 1/2% of our population wears the uniform of the armed forces. In addition, there have been base closures throughout the country. Right here in this area, we used to have Fort Sheridan, we used to have Glenview Naval Air Station. Those are gone. So our civilian communities no longer have the connectivity or direct exposure to our military as in the past. So after you return, you now have time to stop and reflect on what happened overseas. And if you do not have a strong coping mechanism for that, bad stuff happens. Anger, guilt, shame, despair, depression, suicide. And the suicide rate for our military veterans, not those on active duty, is epidemic. The Department of Veterans Affairs has reported that the suicide rate for veterans is 22 per day, almost 1 per hour. And that rate actually is significantly underreported. Why? First, the VA can only report based on data that they receive from the states, and not all the states are giving them the data, especially some states with large populations. Second, some veterans are committing suicide in a manner in which it is not officially reported as a suicide. They'll drive their car or motorcycle into a tree or viaduct, and it's reported as a vehicle accident. And as some of our first responders here know, there's something called suicide by cop, where they force the law enforcement official to take lethal action. Now, what's the implication of all that? The implication is that we lose more veterans to suicide in 1 year than all the combat deaths since 9/11. And out of the 22 per day, 69%, nearly 70%, are older than 50 years old. So it's not the younger ones coming back from Iraq and Afghanistan that are the vast majority. It's my generation. The Vietnam veterans, some World War II veterans, Korea, also the first Gulf War, because don't forget that was 25 years ago. And you might ask, why is that? Why are the older veterans committing suicide at a higher rate? Well, just think about it. If you're in your 50s or older, generally speaking, you're an empty nester, and you're no longer fighting for promotions and your career is hard, or worrying about mortgages or college tuition. So you have time to reflect on the past, and then the moral injury surfaces. Now, although we recognize that therapy is good for some conditions, such as PTSD, it is our position that the main approach for moral injury is not prescription drugs, but rather the forgiveness and grace of a moral authority, a loving God, the counseling of clergy and sensitive therapists, and the fellowship of a spiritual community wrapping their arms around people. You see, when you have moral injury, you feel worthless, that you have been involved in such bad acts that no one can love you, that God can't love you. Moral injury, in fact, is nothing new. In the Old Testament, the book of Numbers, chapter 31, clearly demonstrated that Moses required the Jewish warriors to undergo a purification process before permitting them to enter back into the camp. The knights, upon return from the Crusades, were required to do penance and reconciliation. The Native Americans had sweat lodges. Society has known for millennia that if you send people into combat that involves killing, you have to help them readjust when they return. Our modern society has forgotten all that. The process for healing moral injury involves first forgiveness and grace. The individual has to continue the healing process after that by rebuilding the lost sense of self-worth. One of the best ways to do that is by serving others. When you serve others, you build up your feeling of self-worth. And what better institutions do we have in our country that provides opportunities for serving than our houses of worship? In addition, the Department of Defense and the Department of Veterans Affairs are not resourced to address this problem. We have 23 million veterans in our nation, and we are going to receive a new wave of veterans from the current war. There are not enough chaplains in the VA to handle the situation. The good news is, and there is good news, is that there is a house of worship in every community in our country, and they can be the beacons of hope and light, demonstrating God's love in conjunction with other community-serving organizations, such as Adventists. Our local houses of worship and organizations want to help our military community, but they don't know how, where to go, or the resources available. That's where Military Outreach USA comes in. We are a faith-based 501c3 organization with a mission to help our military community deal with the visible and invisible wounds of war. We do this through a national network composed of military-carrying houses of worship of all faiths and military-carrying organizations that don't have to be faith-based but want to help our military community. And I should add that we are an ecumenical organization. We'll serve anyone. And people don't have to be people of faith, because our only criteria is that they've worn the uniform of the United States Armed Forces or their family members thereof. So we enable this military caring network to serve those who have served us by providing education about military culture, resources available to assist, serving programs, research references, and best practices by network members. All of this is provided free of charge at no cost to either the house of worship or organization, and we receive no government funding. It is easy to join the network. The online process is simple and fast through our website at militaryoutreachusa.org. I would request that you pass on the information about our organization to any friends, relatives, or associates throughout the country. Our network reaches over 23,000 houses of worship and organizations in over 40 states. And finally, I'd like to close with a personal note about how I have dealt with my own personal moral injury. Ever since I returned from the military, I have been fortunate in not having experienced debilitating effects of my combat experience. I have not had nightmares or flashbacks. I have attributed this mainly to my strong personal faith and the blessings of being married to a loving and understanding spouse who has put up with my negative behavior as a result of my combat experience. In dealing with my ministry these past 3 years and with the issues of post-traumatic stress disorder and moral injury, I have recently come to realize that an incident over 40 years ago was instrumental in my ability to deal with my personal moral injury. It was the summer of 1969, and I was an infantry company commander leading my soldiers, and we had just had a battle with the Viet Cong, and we had overrun an enemy position and killed several enemy, and I literally had 3 dead Viet Cong at my feet. The time a military unit is most vulnerable is right after a victory. It's just human nature to let your guard down and to breathe a sigh of relief. Well, I knew that because I was the officer in charge and a military professional. So I was on my radio talking to my platoon leaders, and as we would say in the military, kicking rear end and taking names, I was telling them to take care of their wounded, to redistribute their ammunition, to watch for enemy avenues of approach for a counterattack, and suddenly I stopped. I looked at the bodies of the 3 Viet Cong. I realized that something had happened to me. Something had hardened my heart. Only moments earlier, these were alive human beings with emotions, families, and they were fighting for something as important to them as I was fighting for. And yet, I was treating them like they were bumps on a log. And then I remembered Jesus' Sermon on the Mount when he told us to pray for our enemies. So in the midst of all the commotion and confusion, which we call the fog of battle, I stopped and said a silent prayer for the 3 Viet Cong. Now, I didn't get on my hands and knees and have a big ceremony. All of this probably took less than a minute, but it's something that has forever remained in my mind and heart. And I was praying for myself as much as I was praying for them. I've only recently come to realize that this incident enabled me to address my moral injury directly, virtually as it was happening. But I was also aided in my subsequent lifelong healing process through the support of my church members and my family and the numerous opportunities the good Lord has given me throughout my life to serve others, both in my community and nationwide. I would plead with you to provide similar opportunities to the military community members within your congregations and local communities by encouraging your house of worship or organization to join our military caring network. May the good Lord continue to bless you and give you peace. Thank you.